One. Good day, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Fayette Focus. Harry Wright with you today. My guest from Community Action Commission, we have Tina Dahmer. How are you, Tina?
I'm great, Harry. How you doing?
Always wonderful. You deal with self-help housing.
That's correct.
And right now, National Homeownership Month.
June is declared National Homeownership Month, and that's declared by the folks in Washington, D.C. So it's all across the nation. So we're celebrating it this month. So we are having a big event down in Frankfort, which is one of our subdivisions, because we are now serving 6 counties. We're not just in Fayette now. So we're serving Fayette, Clinton, Highland, Ross, Greene, and Madison. So we branched out into those counties because they touch our county.
Right.
So we can do housing in all 6 of those counties. But our event is going to be in Frankfort at one of our current homeowners that's currently under construction. Single mom, works very hard. She has a great story to tell. It's going to be very heartbreaking that day because she's a cancer survivor. And it's pretty touching to see that happen and to see her get her dream of owning a home for her kids. But on that day, here's the big thing. The administrator of Rural Housing Services, Tony Hernandez, is coming all the way from Washington, D.C. He will be cutting the ribbon for our homeowner down there that day. So we are very excited. We are expecting lots of media and lots of coverage that day. And of course the Secret Service. But it's pretty exciting to see. But we're really excited because this is the 50th year of self-help housing. And this is our 50,000th house across the nation. So we're pretty pumped up for it.
So it kind of coincides 50 and 50.
50-50, that's it.
Yeah, there you go. Now, this is going to be June 17th. At what time?
It's going to start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll have some speakers there. Of course, Mr. Hernandez will speak, and then we'll have some other... We're actually getting presented with a proclamation from one of our elected officials. We'll keep that a secret for now. But we've got several people that are supposed to be there that day besides Tony. So we're excited about that. The state office, the USDA office, will be there too. So Tony Logan and Gerald Arnott will be there with us also.
Wonderful. So it sounds like a great day to learn a little bit maybe about some self-help housing. And right now, there's so much to know. There
is a lot to know. And the big message I'd like to say today is you really need to give it a shot. You really need to check out owning your own home. It's the best thing you'll ever do for yourself. It's the biggest investment you'll ever make for you and your family. So this loan is 100% financing. So people need to realize they don't need a down payment. The only out-of-pocket expense you're going to have is roughly $500, and that's it. And you can get into a brand new home. You can help build it. You're going to pick out your lot. You're going to pick out your house plan, all of your colors. And it's just a really exciting thing for folks to do that. And the kids like to get involved too if you have children. So it's just a great program. They need to check it out. And it's all based on your income.
And you know, it's a great thing to buy a house that's already built and have it be your own home and be a homeowner. That's wonderful. But when you get a chance to build one from the ground up, and then you get to have things the way you want it and the colors the way you want it and all of that, boy, that just makes that such a special place.
Well, it does. And the reason I like it so much is because when they move in, everything's new. So they're not going to have a bunch of expenses right off the bat. Whereas buying an existing home, sometimes you have that. Not always, but sometimes you'll have that. Or 5 years down the road, they've got to replace the refrigerator or whatever. But our homes come with all of your kitchen appliances. You get a stove, refrigerator, microwave, and a dishwasher. You get to pick it out. We give you an allowance, and you get to go buy it yourself. It's just really cool because you get to, that way you can pick out what you want.
That's right. Instead of having what somebody else has had before, you get to pick out what you want.
That's right.
And if you want the living room to be blue, the living room can be blue.
Well, not necessarily. There are some color restrictions. There's some color restrictions, but once you move in, you can paint it any color you want. But the government has some color restrictions in the beginning, but it just can't be anything bright and bold. But you still get to pick out. There's plenty of other colors to pick out. You just can't have those bold colors. You can have a light blue, but you can't have a bold blue.
Well, I was thinking light blue in the first place.
Okay.
No one.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of like a royal blue. That's just a little too powerful.
Yeah, that's too powerful. The other great thing about these homes is the fact that you also get all of your landscaping included. So you don't have to go out and buy trees and shrubs and things. That's all going to be included. And then they also have a 10 by 12 treated wood deck on the rear of their home. So it's move-in ready. I mean, it's 2-car garages, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's energy efficient because most folks don't know we build using 2x6 wall construction. And of course, all of the materials that we use on the house are energy rated as well. So it's a very tight home. You'll save money in utilities.
I'm not familiar with the 2x6 wall construction. Why is that more efficient?
Well, because you're getting 2 inches of extra insulation. So that helps. You wouldn't believe it, but an extra 2 inches helps a lot.
That's amazing. I've always heard, the 2x6s were used for floor joists.
Yeah.
But never for walls.
Yep. It's 2x6, so it's great.
I'll be surprised at that.
There we
go. I'm going to learn something new. I'm looking forward to June 17th. It's going to be a very interesting and informational day, and I want everyone out there who's thinking about buying a home or building your own home, they should really come to this event.
They should, because they'll get a tour of the home too, and the subdivision. But it's just really good to walk through a real home that's being built, so you can see what it's all about.
That is true. You get to see it while it's being built, so therefore you know what's going on.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. My guest today on Fayette Focus, and I'm glad she took time out of her very busy day to come talk with us. From Community Action Commission here in Fayette County, Tina Dahmer, thank you so much.
Thanks, Harry.
Good day, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Fayette Focus. Harry Wright with you today. My guest from the City of Washington Courthouse, we've got the man himself, City Manager Joe Denen. How are you today, sir?
It's a great day.
It is a great day to be in Fayette County and in Washington Courthouse.
Of course it is.
It is. Now, we want to start off with street paving and street pothole fixing. I've been hit with those questions here. When you talk to somebody in the city, find out how that's going. And we've got a few holes left, but we're doing pretty good.
We've patched a tremendous number of holes. You had an incredibly hard winter. We've done a tremendous amount of patchwork. Starting on June 22nd, we'll start the repaving program. In particular, I'll be very happy to smooth out Columbus Avenue a bit, those sections that have really gone downhill incredibly quickly, because you got a huge amount of traffic there. You've had some areas that have been perennially a problem. Like a good example would be that intersection of Columbus Avenue right in front of what I still call Bell Shell.
Yes.
In particular, there's a tendency to push that asphalt up a little bit at that intersection because of just the volume of traffic that you have there. That paving program, depending on the weather, that'll be a 5 or 6 day deal, and that will inconvenience folks. I'm really sorry about that, but it's kind of something that has to be done.
Just a temporary inconvenience.
Just a temporary inconvenience.
Right.
We'll do a bit of grinding, and then we'll come back through with the contractor and lay down some nice new asphalt on a number of streets in town. But that is something that we really look forward to, because we've got a lot of real problems out there.
Yeah, and you talk about the pavement buckling. Whenever cars and trucks stop, your wheels are pushing against the pavement, and if it's a nice warm day, it folds it up kind of like you sliding on an area rug in your house.
Right. In fact, we had a discussion with the service department, with Jim Heath, about, do we want to look at something different right there? Do you want to pour a little bit of concrete there? And we debated about that a lot. If we did that, you would have looked at probably a much longer inconvenience at that intersection, because we would have dug that out, then we would have formed it up, then we would pour concrete. We wouldn't want to keep people off of that for a couple days. And the conclusion was that, probably the best thing to do there, we'll do a little bit of work to the base and see if we can limit that problem. But for everybody's convenience, it's just a little bit easier to keep that in asphalt.
Right, because how long ago was that done?
Oh, it's been some time.
Yes. So even though it is a problem and it gets pushed up, it does last a while.
It does last quite a while, yes. And you carry a tremendous volume of traffic through there.
Right, and it's amazing how much traffic goes through there. That's the reason why people always say, well, why can't you make a left turn here? Well, because it's just one lane, and it's way too congested to have that happen.
Another thing that would be nice, if your listeners have opinions about traffic signals or stop signs in Washington Courthouse, we're going through a little bit of a review process there, where we look at how we move traffic through the community and if there's any changes that we need to make there. Any, in particular, any signals that don't make any sense anymore. Now, that can be a very controversial thing because a lot of people become very attached to having a traffic signal at location X, Y, or Z. And a lot of other people that don't necessarily live in that area become very agitated that traffic signal exists at location X, Y, or Z. And what you'll see us do there, we've done a lot of traffic counts, and you'll continue to see us do some other traffic counts in town at different intersections. We'll collect some information. We've done that for several of them now. Then we'll ask for some feedback from the police department. And then we'll go through a little public process where we ask for some feedback from the general population, anybody that drives that street or lives in that neighborhood, and draw some conclusions from that.
Getting onto North Street from Ironman Park Drive
can be very difficult.
Can sometimes be extremely difficult, and I have always wondered about the possibility of maybe having a traffic signal there.
We can look at that.
Because if you're coming onto either making a left turn or a right turn, but especially a left turn onto North Street off of Ironman Park Drive, you're going to sit there for a while.
Sometimes that can be difficult, yes.
So that's the kind of thing, too. The stuff that they're looking for, folks. If you have any opinions, any ideas about, where you would like to see a traffic light or where you would like one taken away, now's the time.
Yes, you need to call us uptown at 636-2340. You can email us. You can, any way in the sun you want to contact us, write us a letter any way you want to.
Now, we've had the levy pass, so what's the status now on hiring police and fire?
That is something that we are actively looking at now. Now, that levy commences January the 1st. Okay, so none of that money it doesn't start to come in until next year. Okay. But we're in that planning process now, and how that works for a police officer in Washington Courthouse, for example. We go to the Civil Service Board and we request the ability from the local board members to give an entry-level exam. We'll advertise for the exam. People sign up. They take the entry-level exam, which is a written exam that basically you're looking there for, I'm going to call it general knowledge. Okay, it's nothing particular specific to police officers. What you're looking at is, does this person have a basic level of education, and, what skills do they have, and so forth and so on. We'll take the folks that score in the top 10 from that list, and those are the potential candidates for hiring. We take those top 10, and then we begin a background investigation process, which is extremely thorough. They'll look at past employment. We'll go out and talk to neighbors. We'll talk to the references that you provide. We'll talk to past employers. It's not unusual for us to talk with folks that you worked with. We do the background investigation. We do the interviews first at what I call the department level. The police department will do some interviews, and what they will then, they'll take those top 10 and they will provide a recommended list from the top 10 candidates. And I can recall, for example, last time that we did a test, out of those top 10, police recommended 3 suitable candidates from that list after they'd gone through the background process and the interview process. They said, here is 3 that we think potentially could be a police officer, and we'd be happy with them. So it is a fairly selective process. The last time that we gave the test, we did not have that many candidates, but typically an entry-level exam for policemen or firemen, and firemen works in a very similar fashion. Usually we have, somewhere around 60, 65 people take the test.
So are we going to be okay with the people that are retiring? Are we going to have time to train the replacements?
The hope is that we will keep up with and build upon the number that we have, because we are very concerned that we have a number of employees that are approaching that point where they're eligible to retire. It's been my experience, you talk to people about what their plans are, and folks are generally very upfront about that. But there's always a little bit of, I don't want to say anxiety around that issue, but some folks change their mind. Some stay a little bit longer than they really planned on originally. So that is something that we continue to have a conversation with folks about, so that we're very comfortable with, that we understand where they're at.
So they could probably hold on until replacements go.
I would be... Not everybody the day that they're eligible says, I'm ready to be done.
Right.
In fact, that's rather unusual. But a lot of people, honestly, that's a very difficult decision for a lot of people. And that's something that we try to have an active and ongoing conversation about, so as that they go through that process of making that decision, that we understand where they're at. Most of the time when you talk to somebody, especially initially, about what their plans are, a lot of times they're not in a position to tell you, because they haven't really made up their mind at that point in time. But we continue to have that conversation so that we, as clearly as we can, understand where people are at now.
All right. And now we got a lot of things planned for the summer, don't we?
I think you're going to have a great summer. That YMCA continues to be incredibly strong and go from strength to strength, and they have a lot of activities planned. A lot of people have enjoyed a couple of fishing derbies that we've had. Coming up, you're going to have Fire in the Sky, and I've always been extraordinarily proud of the volunteers involved with that, and the association of folks from the fire department, folks that have been retired from the fire department with that.
Yeah, that is a good one. Plus, we got the farmers
market is a great thing.
We have two now. I guess there's one on Wednesday night, too, out at TSC.
That's
kind of nice, because the one farmers market downtown is from 8 to noon on Saturday. This one is like on a Wednesday from 4 to 7 or something like that, and people can go after work.
Yeah, I don't know. My wife sends me down there, I think, because she thinks I'm going to bring back healthy stuff, and usually it's one of Rachel McClish's pies, but
I'm
it's
with
good
you.
stuff.
Well, you can't knock Rachel McClish's pies.
Oh, those are the best things.
They are. How lucky are we? I'm a pie lover. I mean, I'll take a pie over cake or brownie or anything, and we have some of the best pie makers in the world
that
right
stuff is great. That and that donut fella down there, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and then I have the same thing about the farmer's market. You can have your zucchini and your squash. I'll take the pies.
Pie and donuts, that I do quite well down there.
Yep, if they just had a fresh milk dispenser down there,
it'd be great.
Table, we would be great. Anything else you want to tell our listeners today?
Well, I think that we're going to get some warmer weather, which will be a welcome thing. I was a little bit worried that we were going to have snow on the 1st of June, but a little bit of warmer weather, I think, will be just fine.
My guest today on Fayette Focus, talking about what's going on in the City of Washington Courthouse. City Manager himself as Joe Denen. Joe, thank you so much for visiting with me.
Thank you, Harry.
Good day, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Fayette Focus. Harry Wright with you today. My guest from the Ohio Means Jobs Fayette. We've got Bob Brown. Bob, how are you?
Just fine, Harry. Thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you for being here. We've got a lot. Of course, last time you were in, you were talking about a bunch of jobs available. Do we still have jobs?
Actually, we do. I was just before I came in, I was looking at the unemployment rate. Of course, April is the last month available. Fayette County was at the state average of 4.6%. So that's kind of considered full employment, and that 4% mark. The economists generally state that at any given time 4% of people are looking for work or are without a job. So yes, we do have some things. I do hear from employers now it's getting hard to find people. So who knows what will happen, whether, pay rates may need to go up in order to lure somebody away from somebody else. So actually it's a good time if you're considering about, testing what's out there, is, getting your resume brushed up and putting yourself out there. You might find a better job.
I think it's great that we're right there at the bottom, that we're almost full employed, because here recently, used to let go of a bunch of people.
Yes.
It's great that they found work.
Yes.
And you're right, it does help out in the way that wages could go up. The only way that you're going to get somebody that's already working to leave their employer is to maybe offer them a better benefits package or better wages.
That's right. Or, as the younger generation comes on, they're really interested in a work-life balance. They want their free time, family time, and not as driven maybe as much as the baby boomers. They probably saw their parents and grandparents, working around the clock, and they don't want to be that way. So the times are a-changing, as they always say.
I never thought about that, but, that was a big drawback for use a lot there when they were working 12-hour days.
Absolutely.
And they were working 6 days a week. There was just a lot of people that wanted to have, if you will, a life outside of work. But there are some people that, their work is their life.
Oh, absolutely.
And so they don't care how much, like me, I don't care how much I work. I love my job.
I think that's our generation, where we like to work and have always worked. And because there were so many boomers, we were always in competition for jobs. Where the younger generations, not as many of them, and they have different priorities.
They sure do. And so it does make it kind of hard for employers. You basically do have to set your employment office up in your company to attract workers who are already working.
Absolutely. And with the aging workforce of the boomers, many of us are starting to think about, what's coming down the road, and that's a big wide age gap. And so replacement workers are going to be key in the next few years, making sure you have succession planning.
I'm hoping to train my successor, because one day I would like to. I hate to use the word retire, because I've already retired twice and I've come back and worked harder after retirement. So I'm just going to quit.
There you go.
The next time, I'm not going to retire. I'm just going to disappear so I don't have to go back to work. But I got a few years for that, and finding that right person to take things over, and that is kind of difficult. And I imagine for some of the industries in town, it's difficult as well.
It is difficult. That's one of their biggest challenges, is attracting and keeping a good solid workforce. Certain industries are certainly, and certain job occupations like maintenance folks usually never have much trouble finding. When a company goes out, we always hate to see it, but usually the people we don't see are the maintenance people. They usually have a job offer somewhere else right away. So that's always a good thing.
Skilled labor, that's the thing. There's labor, driving a forklift, but skilled labor, somebody that can look at a problem, assess the situation, know what's wrong, and know how to fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Those folks are very much in demand. We read in the paper and you hear about all the time jobs going overseas. Well, what's going overseas are the less skilled labor,
right?
Because they can get it over there cheaper. But some things that require the skill, are staying here. In fact, they're really struggling to fill those vacancies as the boomers retire.
Now, you've got an event coming up on the 17th.
Yes, I think so. I'm working with a staffing service out of Hillsboro, and they have some jobs that are coming up in the local area, and so they've booked some time with me to out at the High Means Job Center, and then the Southern State has given us some space in the one of the empty classrooms there to do some recruiting. It's kind of an all-day event, and they can always call out the office, and we'll give them more information as that comes up and people hear about. They'll probably do some publicity on that themselves.
Now, how do we get contact with you?
Well, I'm work at the college, and our number is 740-333-5115, and my extension is 5685, and we'll be glad to share that information with folks that are interested in testing the waters and seeing what's out there.
Do you have anything else for our listeners today?
Oh, well, really, we just want to invite everybody to come out to High Means Jobs. If you do find that, now that the economy is improving some, you might want to test the waters. People are a little leery to leave their job when the economy's down. But we would be glad to help you put together a very nice resume, show you how to apply for jobs, because it's changed. If you've been with the same company for a few years, it's changed quite a bit. You have to apply online now, so we'll help you with all those things.
All right, so if you need anything to know about getting a job, or maybe you want to get a better job than the one you have now, make sure you get a hold of Bob Brown at Ohio Means Jobs Fayette out at Southern State Community College. I want to thank Bob for being my guest today. Thanks for taking time out of your day, Bob.
Thank you, Harry. It's always a pleasure.